Hi, I'm Josiah, and I want to try to show you a perspective on happiness that is probably a bit different from what you're used to, but it might help bring true happiness into your life. This perspective is based on personal experience as well as research from professionals who study happiness. I think it's safe to say that almost everyone wants to be happy. Some would even say that the ultimate goal of life is to find happiness. I've noticed though that people spend a lot of time chasing after what they call happiness, but that term happiness is actually pretty ambiguous. What does it mean exactly? Well, the most intuitive idea of happiness is that it's this sort of positive rush of emotion. Everybody's felt it at some point, like maybe when you eat your favorite food or watch a kitten play with a feather. These things make us feel good. We might accurately describe this feeling as pleasure. Some sociologists or psychologists call it hedonic happiness. Being that this is the most intuitive definition of happiness, it's what I see most people chasing after in their pursuit of happiness. It's why people try to get more money, so that they can buy things that bring them pleasure. The problem is, this pleasure never lasts forever. It can temporarily make you happy, but a negative event can easily bring your happiness level back down. And even if everything is going well, your happiness will eventually fade. For example, if eating your favorite food makes you happy, then eating your favorite food all the time could be expected to make you happy all the time, right? But it doesn't. If you eat your favorite food too much, pretty soon, you'll stop enjoying it the way you used to, and it just won't bring you the same kind of pleasure. The happiness you got from eating your favorite food will fade. This is part of what Lyubomirsky, an expert on the psychology of happiness, refers to as the happiness set point, the level of happiness that you tend to return to regardless of the circumstances of your life. There will be ups and downs, but in the end, it turns out nothing really changes. To see more about what Lyubomirsky has to say about happiness and the happiness set point, check out the link in the video description. So, am I saying that happiness is always temporary and there's nothing you can do to hold on to it? Not exactly. But, to have lasting happiness, you will have to redefine your goal. You need a new definition for happiness. Leave pleasure behind and dig for a deeper meaning. Adam Piore, who writes for the online science magazine Nautilus, terms this second kind of happiness eudaimonic happiness, and describes it as the happiness that qualifies a life well lived, time on this planet well spent. You'll want to remember that term because I'm going to be using it for the rest of this video. Eudaimonic happiness takes on a much broader perspective. It's less focused on how much money you have right now and how your grades are and whether or not you have a girlfriend, and focuses instead on how fulfilling your life is and has been in general. In other words, it's less focused on how your life looks on the surface and more focused on the motivations that guide your actions. Over time, I've adopted this as my perspective of happiness, so allow me to use myself as an example. I am happy because I know in my heart that I've made an honest effort to help everybody around me as much as possible. This is something that I've found to be very fulfilling to me personally, so it brings me a great deal of eudaimonic happiness. Things like my wallet being empty don't take away from that happiness. Sure, from a hedonic perspective, I'd love to have lots of money. But instead I choose to take on a perspective that doesn't put much importance on it, so I'm perfectly happy as I am. In fact, an empty wallet can actually become a source of happiness for me, depending on what caused it. Here's what I mean. If my wallet's empty because I spent that money on someone else, then my lack of spending money just reminds me of what I did to help them. It brings back a happy memory, so I'm happy. On the converse, if my wallet's empty because I spent that money on myself when I didn't really need to, well, then I wouldn't be so happy. Wasting money on myself is inconsistent with the helpful life that I try to live, so it does take away a bit from the happiness that I find in being helpful to others. Notice that on the surface, that is, from a hedonic perspective, these two scenarios look much the same. I have no money. However, when you take on a eudaimonic perspective, you see a clear difference between the motivations. That's the key difference between my perspective on happiness and the more intuitive perspective that most people take on. The nice thing about this new kind of happiness is that it doesn't fade nearly as easily. As long as you consistently do whatever it is that you find to be fulfilling, you'll stay happy. Even if you're a little bit inconsistent, you can still be happy. Sometimes I'll mess up and do things that don't make me happy, like spending too much money on myself. All I have to do then is remember the times that I didn't mess up, and realize that they make up for the mistakes that I've made along the way. Then my happiness stays intact. The most important thing to remember is this. If you learn to base your happiness on how fulfilling your life is, then you can have true, lasting happiness. I promise you that with a little effort and practice, you can teach yourself to see happiness from this perspective. Now, I don't know if the same things that I find fulfilling will work for you. Maybe helping people isn't the best source of happiness for you. Your thing might be being the perfect employee, or maybe you should try expressing yourself through artwork. I encourage you to spend some time in self-reflection and identify whatever it is in your life that is most fulfilling to you. I hope this video has been able to help you or somebody you know bring happiness into their life. If you like this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up, and if you have any questions, leave it in the comments and I'll be sure to answer as quickly as I can. Thanks so much for watching.